Hi, I'm Caroline. Thank you for joining me this morning for some yoga. We're going to start lying down and making sure our feet are hip distance apart. So there's a little bit of a gap between our feet, our toes are pointing forwards, they're parallel, and then we'll be lying down with our head on our mat or on the floor, wherever you're practicing today. Making sure you feel comfortable. If you bring the heels a little bit further in towards the body, there's more of an arch in the lumbar spine. And if you take the feet away from the body, you may find you have a little bit more support for the lumbar spine. So that's the lower back. So just finding your comfortable position to begin with, allowing the shoulders to fall down towards the mat, the floor, and either having the hands on the belly or the hands up towards the ceiling. Maybe closing down the eyes and connecting with the breath. So just taking a few moments to notice how you feel in your body this morning. And starting to encourage length and breadth to the breath. So if your hands are on your belly, that may help as a reference as you breathe into the belly, into the lungs, and into the upper chest. Notice as the belly rises and falls, how the rib cage rises and falls, and you may feel the back of the rib cage pushing into the floor beneath you. So over half the breath that goes into the lungs goes into the back of the lungs. We're going to start bringing some evenness to the breath. So we're going to be breathing in to a count of 4, maybe 5, maybe 6, and a count out to exactly the same in. So working with your body, maybe you start breathing in for 4 and out for 4. Maybe you know you're able to take that up to 5 or 6. Encouraging the breath to enter through the nostrils. And if at any time it doesn't feel right, letting it go and coming back to your regular breathing pattern. Starting to encourage a pause at the top of the inhalation and the bottom of the exhalation. So it might just be a millisecond, but just a pause before you inhale and before you exhale. Take you 3 more in your own time. And we're going to start moving the arms. So we're going to breathe in and reach the arms behind us, have a softness in the elbows, and breathing out to bring the arms back down to the sides of the body. Doing that 3-4 more times, just bringing some mobility to the shoulders, a little bit of a stretch in the upper back, and trying to make the movement last as long as the breath. So as we inhale, we're taking the arms behind us. And as we exhale, we're bringing the hands back down to the sides of the body. Next, we're going to bring a knee into the chest. So maybe bringing the right knee in to begin with and using the hands to draw the knee in, give it a hug. It may feel more comfortable to let it go and then draw it in. You may feel you can bring it in a little bit further and increase the stretch around the hips. And then taking the knee, the right knee in the right hand, we're taking the right leg out towards the right side. So trying to keep the hips and the pelvis level here. The left knee is still tracking up towards the ceiling. So just looking for a little bit of a stretch, the inside of the thighs, groin area. And then we'll swap hands, bringing it back to center, taking it in the left hand and taking it across the body. Again, encouraging the hips and the pelvis to be level. So we don't want to rock over and bring the body onto one side. And then we'll bring that leg back down to the floor. Have that sense of balance and evenness between the feet, between the body, and we'll do exactly the same on the other side. So drawing the left leg in, giving it a hug. And just working with this stretch for your body. So maybe that's bringing the leg in and letting it go. Maybe it's bringing it in a little bit further. Making sure that right knee is tracking up to the ceiling. And then taking the left knee out to the left side. Remembering to keep the hips grounded, the pelvis grounded. And then bringing the knee back up to center, taking the right hand onto that left knee and bringing it across the body. Remembering again to keep the pelvis down. Try not to roll over to one side too far. And then allowing that knee to come back to center and dropping the foot down. We're going to bring the right foot and the outside of the right ankle to rest on the left thigh to begin with. You may want to use your right hand to gently push the inner right thigh away. Try and avoid pushing onto the knee because it's a joint. If you're feeling that quite strongly around the hips and the pelvis, this might be as far as you would like to go today. If you want a little bit more, we can bring the left leg in. We're not using our hands at all, just using our body strength and still pushing the inner thigh away. So you may find you get into the glutes as well here as the hips. Breathing here, maybe using the left hand on the floor to stabilize your body. Can you bring that left knee in towards you a little bit forward more? And then taking the right hand down by the side of the body as well, we're going to roll over to the left hand side. So staying in the position you're in and rolling over to the left hand side. So my right foot is now flat on the floor. Shoulders are softening down towards the floor as well. If you get any pain or tweaking in the knees, just coming back up to center. So a gentle twist for the lumbar spine. And then coming back up to center. And we're going to go over to the other side. So taking the outside of the left ankle onto the thigh of the right leg and gently bringing the left hand to the inside of the left thigh and pushing that leg away. And then if you would like a little bit more, drawing that right knee in. Using the right hand, the palm down, just to help to stabilize you. So there's no right or wrong way to feel a yoga pose. We all feel it very differently in our own bodies. And then from here, we'll bring the left hand palm down towards the floor as well. We're going to roll over to the right hand side. And so the left foot will be flat on the floor. We've come into a twist. Shoulders are down, shoulders are soft. I'm keeping my gaze up to the ceiling today. You can turn to look over the opposite shoulder if you want a full twist. And then slowly coming back up to center, unhooking the knees. We're going to lengthen the hamstrings now, lifting the legs up in the air. So bringing a sense of balance again between the body, both legs are bent, feet on the floor, hip distance apart. We're going to reach up through the left heel. Now there can be a softness in the knee to begin with. You may feel you're able to stretch it a little higher. We're going to use our hands as a support here, so behind the thigh or behind the knee, wherever you can. Encourage the shoulders to drop down towards the floor. So we don't want to hunch up and restrict our breathing. So dropping the shoulders away from the ears and reaching through the heel. Now it's safe for the leg to be straight here because it's not weight bearing, particularly the knee's not weight bearing. Encouraging the hips, pelvis to stay grounded, still reaching through the heel. If your muscles are screaming at you, remember to have a bend in the knee. And then gently taking that foot down and bringing the left leg up. And remember, each side will be very different, so you might find you're able to straighten one leg more than the other. We tend to be dominant on one side, whether it's the feet and the legs or the hands. And so sometimes that dominant side can be a little bit tighter. And I recommend doing all these movements for about 5 breaths. Excellent in the morning to warm up the body, but also great in the evening just to reset the body, bring some length and space. So reaching through the heel, maybe straightening the leg a little bit more, making sure the pelvis is grounded. And then gently bringing that foot back down. We're going to roll over onto one side, use our hands to push ourselves up. And we're going to come into an extended child's pose here. So we're going to work through the back. Big toes are together, knees are wide apart. We're going to take our hands about shoulder width apart, palms facing down, middle fingers pointing forwards, shoulders away from ears. I've got a softness in the elbows here to begin with. Maybe this is where you come to. And know that if you've got tight ankles or tight knees, that you can roll something up like a blanket or a towel or a couple of cushions and just pop them under the knees in between the thighs there. And that can take a little bit of pain or tightness or restriction out of the pose. If you know you are able to come down to the floor, gently padding the fingertips forwards, straightening the arms, the inner elbows are pointing in towards each other, shoulder blades, shoulders drawing down away from the ears. The glutes are very much on the heels, so that contact remains. And then maybe the head, the forehead comes down towards the floor. Gently creeping the hands back towards your body. We're going to come into our box position for cat and cow. So really thinking about Hasta Bandha here. It's a hand lock. We talk about bandhas in the body in yoga. So really spreading the fingertips. Middle fingers are pointing forwards, unless you know you're very flexible, maybe even hypermobile, and then you can turn the thumbs inwards. And by that, I mean just a little bit to help with the alignment. Spreading the hands, shoulders are away from ears, inner elbows are pointing in towards each other or looking at each other. Knees are under the hips, knees are about hip distance apart. We're going to breathe in, look forwards, take the sitting bones up to the ceiling, and breathe out to curl the back round, take the gaze towards the knees. Breathing in to look forwards, sitting bones up to the ceiling, breathing out to take the gaze towards the knee and arch the back. So if the neck's not happy doing this, you can keep the gaze towards the floor. And trying to breathe, remembering to breathe with each movement. So as we're breathing in, we're maybe looking forwards, the belly's moving towards the floor, the mat, the sitting bones up to the ceiling. And as we breathe out, the spine is reaching for the sky and our gaze is going towards the knees or maybe even the navel. One last round. So creating some space between the vertebrae. And some movement in the back of the body. Gently come to sitting, maybe kneeling, sitting cross-legged. Just release any tension in the wrists. We're going to come up to standing to take your time. I've got a chair today and I'm going to demonstrate forward fold with a chair, Uttanasana. You may want to do it with a chair, without a chair. You can do this by the wall as well. So feet are hip distance apart. So my toes are pointing forwards, lifting my toes up and spreading them out. And just notice when you do that with your feet, as you lift the toes up, the contact with the feet and the ground. We're trying to keep that contact as we take the toes back down. Have a softness in the knees. We're trying not to straighten or lock the knees, I should say. Just a little bit of a micro bend there. Rolling the shoulders up, back and down, allowing the hands to be by the sides of the body. Finding that length in the spine, length through the crown of the head. We're going to breathe in, reach up. And as we breathe out, we're folding forwards. We've still got that bend in the knees and we're leading with the heart. So maybe if you are using a chair, you don't come very far. And when I say leading from the heart, it just encourages us to fold from the hips rather than the waist. If the hamstrings are not happy today, bend into the knees a little bit more, but we're still aiming for the sitting bones to reach up towards the ceiling. If you know you are able to come a little bit further comfortably, then maybe bringing the head, the crown of the head towards the floor. The hands can rest on the floor if they reach that far, or you can hold opposite elbows. Just gently shaking the head no, nodding it yes, to check the neck and the head are relaxed. Still keeping a micro bend in the knee. And thinking about the weight distribution over your feet. So your body weight wants to be even over both feet. And often the feet, the body does make small movements to make the movement or the stretch a little bit easier. So just check you haven't rocked back into your heels. And if this is very tight today, focus on the breathing, bringing the mind back to the breath rather than how long we're doing the pose. To come up, we're going to take an inhalation. So bending into the knees to push through the feet to slowly come up to standing. We're going to do downward dog using a chair this morning as well. This is great if you've got high blood pressure. It's not recommended you do it all the way down onto the floor, but also just it's a really supportive stretch to do. So it's nice if you're working at a desk or sometimes I do this at the kitchen, on the kitchen counter, just to bring some length to the body. So we place our hands about about shoulder distance apart on the chair. You can have the hands flat down on the chair, you can hold the sides of the chair, so whatever feels good for your body. And then we're taking a few steps back. And my feet, the toes are pointing forwards, they're hip distance apart. Make sure whatever you're using is sturdy. You either can do it against a wall or on a yoga mat. So my feet are hip distance apart, the toes are pointing forwards, and the heels are drawing down. It might be they're not quite down. That's just dependent on our bodies, our anatomy and physiology. So I'm going to gently bring my belly towards my thighs here. Making sure we've still got that micro bend in the knee I was talking about earlier, softness. The shoulders are drawing away from the ears, and my ears are in line with my arms. So downward dog's more about the back and the length and the spine than it is about the legs. So if you need to, bending into the knees a little bit more. And then slowly walking the feet forwards. And remembering we've almost been in like a forward fold. So taking it easy when you come up, maybe the hands come onto the hips, bending into the knees, breathing in to slowly come up to standing. So hopefully you felt stretched out through the body. We've done the legs, we've worked with the shoulders and the spine. And come to sitting. And just finish with some breathing. So making sure whether you're sitting on a chair or sitting on the floor, you're sitting comfortably in a position you can be in for a couple of minutes. My feet are grounded on the floor, so hopefully you can see that. Toes pointing forwards, parallel, and I'm sitting towards the front of the chair so I can have that length in the spine and the shoulders are relaxed, soft and down. Tucking the chin in just a couple of centimeters to bring that length to the back of the neck. And then closing down the eyes. So bringing the focus back to the breath. If you can, breathing in and out through the nostrils. Noticing the air is cool as you breathe in and warm as you breathe out. Noticing the contact with the floor, with the feet. That sense of grounding and being in contact with the earth. Noticing the movement in the body with the breath and the belly, the lungs, the upper chest, maybe the shoulders and the collarbones. And notice where you can feel the breath in the back of the body. Starting to visualize the breath reaching all the way down to the toes. So as you breathe in, it's traveling all the way down to the legs, the toes, all the way down to the arms, to the fingertips, and all the way up to the crown of the head. So the whole body is being breathed, is being nourished and nurtured by the breath. Taking 3 longer, deeper breaths, so breathing in and breathing out. So maybe sighing the breath out if that feels good. Bringing the hands together at heart center, Anjali Mudra, joining both halves of the body together through the hands. Taking a moment to notice how you feel. Maybe a little bit more length in the body, a bit more space in the body. And taking a moment to say thank you to yourself for taking this time to practice yoga. I'm going to take my hands up to my forehead to remind us to have kind thoughts, to my lips to remind us to have kind words, and back down to my heart center to remind us to have kind actions. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for some yoga today. Please do click the thumbs up if you enjoyed that session, and click to subscribe to find out when more yoga sessions come live or uploaded onto my YouTube channel. For now, it's bye from me.